everyone, welcome to this Big Four journey unfiltered with some of our most illustrious alumni working in some of the best companies in the world. These companies, every year there are thousands of students who want to work in companies like Deloitte, PwC, EY, KPMG. The brand names are very powerful. The opportunities are global and the learning curve, as we'll hear from the alumni who've joined us, are extraordinary and very, very steep.
I'm Udit Verma, and I'm currently working with PwC as a senior associate in the learning, innovation, and technology space.
I'm currently working with EY and play an active role in strategy and transactions advisory, including ESG and value creation.
So I'm Jagdish. I've been working for the past 22 years. Already I did the 2 dhams in 4 dham, the big 4. So I've done my EY, this is my KPMG. In the short, what I do is I'm a marketing professional. I do advertising and marketing for a living, right? Primarily, I've always wanted to, so I understood my sales. I worked in Primus Telecom, then I worked in the United Spirits, your alcohol company of Vijay Mallya, selling about 25 brands of liquor to all the wine shops in Gurgaon and other areas. But from there, I wanted to understand what builds a brand, what builds marketing. So I wondered what is media planning, what is media buying, what is market research, what is marketing and communications, So the choice that I made was I joined an ad agency, not a well-to-do ad, mostly a startup agency, very passionate from people from Ogilvy, Saatchi & Saatchi, Euro. They had formed a team. I think that's the best way to learn. Go figure out yourself, do your research, put across a plan. But yeah, chase what you wanted always to do. So from sales, I jumped into marketing.
I did the growth mindset, which led to ESG and value creation as well, because this is something which I did about 3-4 years back. And, I was just looking at what next in my career. So what do I do, from now on? So I've done a lot of strategy, I've done a lot of consulting. Where do I see myself, let's say 10 years down the line? And I was like, I obviously have to do something different. There has to be, there has to be a challenge. There has to be something new, because if I'm doing what I'm doing now, I may not be as relevant 10 years down the line.
I was thinking through a tech-savvy mind, and then I also had human skills, of course. So I had 4 rounds of interview with PwC and hence got placed there.
I'd say much before MBA, yes, you have your technical skills, because, there would be lots who would want to get into AI, something which relates to tech, something which relates to ESG, something which relates to something, altogether different. But ultimately, beyond technical skills that are really important as, you aspire for specifically consulting careers. So I think that is what really becomes important. Are you understanding the theory? Yes. But are you able to translate that into impact, into the so what, basically?
I think, according to my perspective, it is very important and pivotal to adopt skill stacking approach, which is a perfect way to even enter or move the ladder up, which involves a combination of both the core technical skills and human skills. Tech literacy, of course, is very important. These days, there's a lot of buzz around AI. So even I have learned it now and come to the power of at least using it in our day-to-day activities like Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Agent especially. But I think it is equally important that the skills like adaptability, learning agility, critical thinking, as she mentioned, it is very important to work and align yourself to the current role. And it is, I think, also important when it comes to consulting. Design thinking is very important. So to understand it from a very bedrock foundation, like understanding how to empathize, define, then ideate, and prototype, and then test. So it is all very important to understand the whole perspective of design thinking. And why I'm talking about it is because it is equally important to strike both at a balance. Like, it should not be like technical skills are more and then somebody's lagging behind at the soft skills and human skills. So I think it is equally important.
Across the industry nowadays, there are a wide array of competencies for which we hire. And of course, for each competency, there would be different, technical questions, so to say, and whatnot. But yes, besides being adept technically, as I mentioned before, what mistakes, so to say, or things that we can work on. Again, basically, where I see people sort of say making that lag is not being able to link the theory, with the practical implications. That I think at times becomes like, so to say a breaker where the theory, marketing, but how will it actually work on a specific project? You've been given a project, you've been given, let's say, a issue, a business case, basically. You have to break it down. So what does it mean? How do I, so to say, what are certain solutions, or let's say some options basically of how we can go about rectifying this issue, or let's say taking it back to the client, because those are kind of the questions which usually come at interviews basically. So you have to be able to understand it from a practical perspective. I understand the theory, I understand the frameworks basically, but once I use the theory, once I match it up with the framework, how do I explain what will really happen? Is my mind working analytically? Am I able to say A plus B equals C, and how basically? So most of us know A plus B, we may have read A plus B will equal C, but how? If C does not work, then what else? So having that open mindset, I would say, and of course having the awareness of that practical implication, so to say, I would say is the most important. Then of course structured communication, because at times we may know what needs to be said, we may not be saying it in the most apt manner. At times, your personality, your executive presence again becomes a tiebreaker, because most of us are prepared when we go in for interviews, but at times, yes, it's these softer things, which, so to say, may move us behind. Those adjectives basically which we think are adding to our, our resume, but we may not be able to do justice to them, because ultimately when you speak, when you explain what you're doing, that's what really, basically sets you apart. So I'd say be simple, use simple words, make sure, your CV talks about what you've done, because at the initial level, it's basically your experience, your, let's say, internship projects. They should be in very simple term. What have I done? What have I achieved? Most often it's the numbers. It could be, let's say, in qual terms, either quant call. Simple is the best, so to say, theory, versus making it too complicated, because at times that for me becomes the biggest distractor, because if you're making it too complicated, you may not be knowing what you're doing. So that's something that I've, yes, so to say, improvised on my resume as well.
The employees were trying to put their time on Astro. They were charging their time from their US VBS codes, but the same was not getting tracked in our business unit. So once I entered and we discussed it, and there was a requirement from the leadership to get the data. So I and my teammate decided to give the data to the leadership in the Power BI dashboard. So we extracted material from Astro, like it's our inbuilt tool that recognizes time slots, how much one is putting for their project specific and non-project specific. And then I think that's where there was a lot of highlight, where I introduced the whole process and executed it, and in fact implemented it. And it's been almost 2.5 years now. I understood this from our previous organization. It was happening, not this exact same tool, but I know how it was happening. So I was like, why not introduce it here? So I think it gave me a very, very good opportunity. I think PwC is one of the wonderful places to work, one of the best places. It has been so flexible. My leadership from my managers, from even my counterparts have been so great. I mean, it's actually really, really good to work with PwC, honestly. That is what I understand working here for 3 years.
So, consulting is a fast-paced environment. We need to be aware of that, and we need to accept that as well. And when you enter a fast-paced environment, any company, it could be a Indian consulting firm, it could be a Big Four, it could be a Big Eight, whatever. You have to be prepared that yes, in a fast-paced environment where deadlines are most often as of yesterday, we have to be prepared to work. Being in the consulting environment, there could be days where you may have certain projects, you may have certain deadlines. Not to say yes, weekends will go, obviously, but yes, be prepared. We may not always have a fixed at this time I come, at this time I go. Yes, there would be variances. There is work-life balance, but yes, we have to be prepared to work, because ultimately it's our life, it's our careers, and we build them the way we want. yes, having a general understanding of AI, how does AI basically work? How do I basically work on AI? Understanding the right kind of prompts, that becomes equally important, because a lot of us may know about AI, about GPT, about Copilot, but what are the right kind of prompts which need to be put in to get my data? So refinement of that, I think at this stage is most important. And subsequently, when you get on the floor and the kind of, so to say, stream which you're working in, you'll obviously get hold of the kind of tools that you need to be, basically understanding more of. I don't think they'd be as much required at this stage.
Prompt engineering, Power Agents, Power BI, and Power Automate. I think it is very important, like understanding it in a business school. I think it'll give them a perspective of how it is done. And these tools just don't help eliminate waste from business, and it also helps in creating more bandwidth within the team. So I think it is fairly important for them to understand what it means, how it works, not like actually do it or have the required access to be working on it, but a fair knowledge would suffice.
So mostly it's all crowdsourced ideas. Now AI is a new trend, right? I mean, like we had typewriters, then you had computers coming, right? So AI is one, again, people are banging on AI. AI is going to be part of, yes, AI is part of your work portfolio, but how do you leverage AI? So for past 2-3 years, what we do at KPMG is we look at different areas of work that we do. It could be analytics, it could be reporting, it could be your marketing and comms, it could be research. The work that you are doing, right, every day, can I leverage AI to reduce the number of hours that you put? I've also hired people who have 2 years of experience into my team. What I find with the current generation of people are their interest and passion, right? They have brought across through AI smallest of ideas. There's no big or small idea, but they have brought this to table, and that is the spirit that we see in people, right? So AI is definitely not replacing you, right? AI is the freshers or students who come on board with us. They need to be, empaneled with AI. They need to understand how can I leverage AI from my different things that we do. This is very, very critical, right? And this is what, as an interviewer on a board, that when I go for interviews, or my team who goes to interviews, this AI mindset is what we look after. In addition to your normal behavioral traits, soft skills and etc., technical skills, but this is very important for us. So for even freshers also to come into this space, I think they should understand how can I, because AI is the next Google for you.
Yeah.
So I think if you have that mindset, so that shows that how creative you are, how innovative you are, and what kind of new things that you can bring across board. Because see, simple, it is a trend. All the companies have been talking about AI, and this has become part of your boardroom discussions and plan. Unless you put it to use and make it a culture in your team, that's more of a culture now. And that is what we also look after for the students who come across from different colleges, and when you go for placements or interviews.
I'd like to say there are 2-3 big takeaways that I'm doing from this talk. One is that there is no linear path to get to these firms. Each of you has had a very different journey, and that's something to take away. While we listen to people's stories about how they made it to certain firms, I think what I'm hearing is you'll have to chalk your own path. But the second takeaway is that the building blocks are looking very similar. It is a lot of hard work. It is a lot of curiosity, discipline, what Jayata you defined as a growth mindset, Udit what you said, the skill stack, and Jagdish what you talked about, the AI mindset. Very clear that you have to develop a habit of these. So this is not something you do just in the placement season. You probably make it your 2-year goal at the beginning of an MBA journey, that this is what I want to do, and therefore these are the steps I want to follow. The third advice, I think, on the interview room, very relevant, was you have to be able to stand behind your resume in a strong way. No point having a fancy resume that you cannot back up, and being authentic, being true, keeping it simple is the best way to, letting authenticity shine is the best way to shine in that interview and get that offer. So thank you so much. And you also helped us understand what is AI going to do, and what do we need to do as students, as people interested in these kind of jobs for AI today sitting in our college campuses. Udit, you really shared a lot of specific tools with us. Thank you for that. Jagdish, same, some very specific advice on what the marketing area may look like for AI tools. And Jayata, thank you for sharing so much on ESG. It is coming up as a big career choice for students. what we're also seeing with this generation is that not only are they passionate about doing something good, but they're also passionate about doing good things. So we are seeing a lot of people make choices regarding sustainability, ESG, and therefore having the three of you really gave a very good perspective. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jayata. Thank you so much, Udit, Jagdish. Much gratitude.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
See you all soon.